City, and it is Friday, and on Fridays with the Home Team Morning Show, live on V94.9 WATV. That's my pastor. In the building, Pastor Russell, Revelation Knowledge Bible Church. How you doing, sir?
Good morning, sir. Excited to be here.
Good morning to you. I'm glad that we didn't run you off before we got you on the air.
No, excited about this moment.
Oh, man, and shout out to your folks you brought with you. Maybe
Oh,
you can shout them
yeah.
out real quick.
Yes.
Let everybody know in here supporting the pastor.
Excited about, first of all, my wife.
You better.
They say a good woman can change a day, but an anointed woman will change your life.
Go ahead.
So excited about her and what God is doing in her life. And I've got Minister Marco, our youth minister over there that's present with us this morning.
Hey, Mr.
So
Marco.
excited about him. Deacon Chris Smith is over there. Thank you for being here this morning.
Mr. Chris.
Church historian, and also Mr. Marvin, Brother Marvin.
Mr. Marvin.
So excited about him.
This is his first field trip. They trying to get him to be part of the crew.
Get him used to it. Yes.
There you go. So tell us about yourself. Are you originally from Birmingham?
Yes, originally from Birmingham. Graduated from West End High School in class of '88. Shout out to class of '88. Yes, Miss V.
Class of '90.
Right, '88. Miss V is one of my class. Well, she was in my class, so shout out to Miss V. It's on this station as well. But born and raised here in Birmingham, Alabama. Grew up listening to the old WATV 900. Right. A little bit familiar with it. Dr. Shelley Stewart, grew up listening to him, and Chris Coleman, grew up a fan of his. So I'm just excited to be here with you guys this morning.
Man, we appreciate you being here, Pastor. Tell us exactly where Revelation is.
Yes, Revelation Knowledge Bible Church is located at 3314 Sweeney Hollow Road. That's 3314 Sweeney Hollow Road, Pinson, Alabama 35126.
All right. I like that.
But that's what's happening. Your member base is it a lot of young folks, a lot of old folks, or a mixture of all of them?
Basically young, but kind of a mixture. I'd say maybe the ages of 30 to maybe 50 would be our greatest, people that are represented there.
Okay, well, having a younger congregation, do you get a lot of off-the-wall questions, considering that the internet is way bigger than it ever been?
Right.
And it used to be you got one Bible and they pass it around the church with responsible reading and all that.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have a lot of the younger members challenge you about some of the information that you distribute throughout the church?
Yes, sometimes we do, but we're a teaching ministry, so our emphasis is basically on that. I'm not necessarily a hooper, I call that the anthem, but you probably would think I am a hooper once I finished, ministry. Just an humble brag, there, but just excited, about what God is doing yet and still. Even on our church, we have a flame, and I feel like, every Sunday that flame is burning on the inside of me. So whatever questions that I can answer or try to present to our church. We are not a traditional church. Our church was founded, as a matter of fact, in 2004, so we would probably be considered to be a millennial church, so we're a little bit open to everything. Not necessarily the tradition, but one thing I do know is that the word will stay the same.
Oh, okay. That's what's up.
Yes.
Pastor, how long you been pastoring?
I've been pastoring for 15 years now.
Wow.
15 years.
And what was the moment, we love to ask pastors this because it's fascinating to us. What was the moment that you were called? Or how was that moment? You were doing anything different, opposite of being called? Or how did that go?
Well, probably a little bit of both. Well, when I was 11 years old, I knew that I was called into the ministry, and how that started was I had asthma, and real bad. I can remember one time in particular to the call that I had to go to the hospital and was there some days, and the doctor did about 13 different shots on me to find out what I was allergic to, and if they could treat, because there's no treatment for asthma, but if they could find out what I was allergic to, then they could, take me off of that and treat, asthma, so to say. And I couldn't get air. I couldn't breathe. It was just the hardest attack. And I remember God saying to me, or a voice, should I say, to answer the question of how did I know I was called. I remember hearing a voice that said, and this is serious, it said, preach or die. I heard preach
or die.
And I kept hearing that.
Wow.
And eventually put it this way, I didn't want to die, number one. What's the
scary.
option in between, preach or die? So I knew then at a young age that there was a calling that was on my life. As well, my mother had joined a Bible study at that time, and she was maybe late 20s, and that's when I first found out about fasting and eating foods that didn't have no seasoning to it. But yes, for 3 days or a week or however. But she asked me, she was a part of a new Bible study, and she asked me, she said, well, do you believe that God can heal you of asthma? And of course, I just wanted to be healed. It didn't make no difference. I'll preach, I'll do whatever. And I told her about it, and she said, well, we're going to stand in faith, and we're going to trust God that you'll be healed of asthma. And from that day to this day, I've never had another asthma attack.
Wow.
But I remembered that voice that spoke to me, that preach or die. So the thing about it, another interesting thing about that is I had a brother that passed away at 14 years old with asthma as well.
Wow.
And
Older?
he was younger. He was younger
okay.
than me, 7 years younger than I was.
How traumatic.
Right. And I thought about that maybe the question was presented to him as well. Preach or die, and maybe he chose the latter because he didn't make it, he didn't survive. Maybe his fight was too strong, and maybe he gave up on that. But myself, I chose the preaching aspect of it, so I'm almost preaching for myself and preaching for him, but most importantly, preaching for God as well.
That's what's happening. Pastor Larry Russell is in the building for That's My Pastor. Every Friday we gotta feature our pastors, our leaders in our community, right?
Yes, thank you. Yes.
I mean, back in the days, not too far ago, pastors led every dog.
Correct.
You got behind the pastor in the church. So, Pastor, how is that today? How do you feel about pastors being the forefront in the community? All this gun violence is going on.
Yes.
Did we do a report this morning about
We did.
the gun violence and how the situation is so terrible?
Gun violence being declared as a public health crisis
Wow.
in the city of Birmingham.
So what can the pastors or what other pastors may be doing about something in the community?
Well, I believe that pastors should be frontline, but I guess frontline to me would be more so as in maybe social media, maybe from the pulpit of messages that we could target to target our issues. For example, the other night, my daughter came home, went out to the basketball game that was here, the tournament that was here, and right in front of her, she said, just as they sat down, there broke out a fight. And I mean,
talked about it yesterday.
Wow,
we
wow.
talked about it yesterday on the think tank.
And-
Think tank at 4:00.
And she was distraught. She said, well, we got our stuff, and there was two of her other friends that were there, and they actually left, so they didn't go. But it makes me wonder, why do we come, why do the children or kids come to the games in the first place? If you come to fight, you should be coming to watch the games.
Right.
And, some of it is attributed to, our home life. Maybe parents need to go back and instill some discipline. It didn't hurt us. The Bible says,
Maybe better.
The Bible says you spare the rod, you spoil the child. So I think it's exactly. Oh my goodness.
You got a lot of rides.
I think you are.
I probably got
I
about
think
6
you are.
witnesses.
What else?
Over the named 30.
They told me to be careful about agreeing with Benny Mackey. So I need to be careful.
Oh yeah.
Yes, sir. I need to.
That's a fact. Be very careful. Be
And
very
what's
careful.
crazy now is folks don't. I was listening to yesterday, like I said, Chris had it on the think tank. Caller called in and said, the kids now, they don't even try to help. They just film.
Wow.
Whip out the cameras and film.
That's true.
Exactly.
Instead of trying to help or call force some help, but you're not going to help. Instead of calling, you're using the phone to so you could be on
World Star.
That's what he said. World Star.
Wow.
Yep.
So
It's
you're
really
trying to
crazy.
get likes and get
Go
hits
viral.
and go viral
Right.
instead of trying to help somebody.
Goodness. But I think if we go back to teaching, if we go back to the fundamentals, as I was stating before, maybe from a social point of view, to instill messages or kind of talk about that. Now, my view may be a little bit different. I'm with the protesters. That's fine. But I don't think, the pastors need to be out there on the front line listening to the cussing and different things of that nature, because it may be a little difficult for people to, be with them at that particular point. But there is a voice that I believe that we do have. And then I think that those are called to protesting, that they should do that as well. So I'm definitely not against it. Maybe just, different format of how we could be, featured as far as the speaking or different things of that nature, or should I say the pastors, and then, let them do what they do as well.
What is Revelation doing in the community?
Yes,
As far as community outreach.
yes,
What?
Revelation Knowledge Bible Church. We are. I was awarded the opportunity to be in a community of pastors in the area of Pinson,
Okay.
at what they call Holy Week, which is a traditional week of Holy Week. So I was introduced to about 5 different pastors, and we would rotate. We hosted one night, and then I preached at one of the other churches as well. And from that led to I was able to get into the schools at Pinson High School and go out and pray over the students and do walkthroughs and different things of that nature. And there's some other things that are going to come out of that as well in the community. That's one thing. We also, one thing that I'm really excited about is that it's coming up on the Easter season. As a matter of fact, April the 20th is what we do at our church. It's called Community Love Day. And that's a day. Community Love
That
Day.
sounds like a lot of food.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. We got some food.
That sounds like some food going on.
Actually, now Benny may love this. We have a group of men at our church that are called the Holy Smokers.
Oh,
They are
yeah?
called the Holy.
Wait on that.
The Holy.
Wait a minute, Pastor. Wait a minute.
Smokers. See, I knew it.
Wait a
Known
minute.
for smoking barbecue
Oh,
and for food and learning.
You gotta leave it that, Pastor. You have to leave it that. We have some men in our church known for smoking barbecue,
Right,
and
for
they go
smoking
by.
barbecue. And
They go by.
They go by the name, right? The Holy Smokers, man.
Oh, my
But-
Somebody just tuned out.
Oh
What they
my
got in their
goodness!
church?
No, not that. But,
I'm just kidding.
But really excited about those brothers and the men that do that, and if you guys come out, we'll have them to cook for you. Is the point that I was making. So
they're gonna be at Community Love.
at Community Love Day, and that will be the 20th. And what we do, we give away clothes, free clothing, and not necessarily hand-me-down clothes, but clothes that are good quality clothes with
Gently
tags.
used.
Gently used, right?
You
With
do
tags
children's
still
clothing?
on them. Children's clothing as well. Shoes.
They have to have the tag still on them.
Well, not necessarily still have to have the tag
Okay,
on, but
'cause I have
in
some
good
clothes for
quality condition.
I was gonna
Is
ask
what
you,
we would
yeah,
do.
what can we, if we have some clothing we would like to donate?
Yes, to the church, and you can go to the website
Okay.
www.revelationknowledge.org.
Okay.
It's the information that we
Okay.
would give to that. So we give away quality clothing. We do food, give away food at that particular time, as well as we have a person that will do check blood pressure and different things of that nature to give, insight as to, you need to go see your doctor, or are you on medication, or
Right.
some referrals or things
Now,
like that.
hold on, brother Larry. Now.
Yes,
So
sir.
you're going to have them slanging barbecue and blood pressure test.
You get checked.
That's a good combo.
Benny.
I never thought
Pass it.
about it
No,
that
pass
way.
it. You have to get checked first before you eat. That's all.
Right.
That's
Check
all.
before you eat.
That's all.
Exactly.
That's all.
So the blood pressure, you can't eat no
Right. No
No,
barbecue.
you can't.
No barbecue meat. Okay. That's what's up.
Well, we have people at our church that are vegan as well, so
was gonna say-
right. So they will be on the vegan side.
Yeah, Benny doesn't eat meat, so
Oh,
I don't even know
okay.
why he's messing with you about
You
smoking.
like the smell of smoke?
Do they smoke vegetables? Can you smoke vegetables?
Holy smoke now.
Yeah, holy smoke. With large smoke.
Oh my goodness, he got me cutting up in here.
Goodness, we're
Anyway.
having a great time, Pastor, man.
Yes.
Pastor Russell from Revelation Knowledge Bible Church.
Yes.
Pinson, Alabama, right?
Ensign, Alabama.
Give us
Right.
the exact address again.
Right, 3314 Sweeney Hollow Road, Pinson, Alabama 35126.
Okay. What's the service time?
Yes, service times are 9:15 would begin regular Sunday, which would be Sunday school
Okay.
at 9:15. Regular church service would be at 10:15, and then we have Tuesday night teaching, what we call TNT, Tuesday night teaching, and that's at 7:00. And we try to hold that for about 45 minutes to an hour and try to get everybody back out of there, especially during the school month.
So is it pastor or doctor?
Actually, doctor.
Okay,
right.
well, I need to be right. You got to
Yeah.
correct me. You got your title. You deserve it.
Bless you, thank you.
Dr. Russell, I apologize. You kind of alluded to it before, and I saw that off the Facebook because they are really loving you, Pastor.
Wow, bless you.
So, what I was going to ask you, kind of alluded to it before. So, what kind of preaching style do you have? Do you bring you bring that weight. You teach and preach.
Yes.
Yes. Explain that.
Well, I'm more so of a teacher. I would say probably a treat. I treat,
Okay.
teach and preach. I'm not necessarily, the hooper.
Okay.
Like I said, I've tried to do that, but I leave that to those that perfect that and do that well.
Okay.
But more so, the emphasis is on the teaching aspect of the ministry. So we like to break down principles and practical principles that we can share in everyday life that help us. Because once you get, emotionalized and get enthused about everything, you need to have a word. You need to have some substance when you're going through trials and tribulations. You need to have some words. So that the emphasis is basically on the word teaching.
But do you hit them with the
Yeah, I try to, but like I said, you have to be anointed to do those things. And I think I stick to the doctor area of, trying to.
You gotta hit them with that.
We get them with a little bit now,
Just a little bit.
But I will.
Just wipe your head with your whole forearm.
Yeah, get it back. I tell you the truth. But one thing that we do, like I said, we do a little bit of that, but more so the emphasis is on teaching. That's what you get,
Okay.
every week when you come to visit our church.
Okay. What denomination, or is it?
It would be non-denominated.
Okay.
Right.
Okay, I'm asking because we read the story earlier in the week about United Methodist Church,
Okay.
where they voted about having same-sex marriages.
Yeah,
and
right.
Also, what is it? Homosexuals in the pulpit? Was that being clergy?
Wow.
Is that what it was?
Yeah.
I think they were saying, gay clergy and openly gay preachers.
That's what it
Wow.
was.
They wasn't with none of them.
They went with that. So
Right.
How do you feel, if you don't mind just expounding a little bit?
Well, number one, I'm not with that either,
Okay.
100%. But however, we're to hate the sin but love the sinner.
Okay.
Is where we come from, and we got to realize that Jesus loves everybody. We all have to be saved from something, but the key is, and interesting that you should say that, because I've had conversations, and of course I won't name any names, out of some musicians that have come through, and they really struggle with that particular spirit of homosexuality. And as we begin to talk, I want to be open, because I don't want to be at a point to where I'm so forceful and so, you're wrong, and, you don't want to condemn people when people need help. And I had a person to actually, kind of cry out to me about that. And I said, well, one thing that is key about this is the Bible that I read, and the understanding of scripture that I have is that because he made the statement of, some people may be born like that. I feel like I was born like that. I said, you may feel like you born like that, but you can't be born again like that. And our Bible tells us that we are to be born again, which means that, yes, we may wrestle with things, we may have issues or struggles, but there's a place where conviction should take place, and there should be a change on the inside of us, and you should be a testimony when God brings you out of that for somebody else to help them to get to the place that they need to be at. So we want to be careful about judging, but at the same token, we want to make sure we stand on the principles of the word, because why should I argue with, or why should I debate with what God specifically spoke and was clear about in the scriptures? Why should we debate that? God is the ruler and the ultimate judge on that.
All right, I like that answer.
Yes, sir.
Dr. Larry Russell, Revelation Knowledge Bible Church, Pinson, Alabama. Tell us